News Talk on Samar News, your go-to podcast for the latest headlines and in-depth discussions. Join us as we unravel the stories that matter most, bringing you insightful commentary and expert analysis. Tune in for thought-provoking conversations that spark dialogue and inspire action. Stay connected with the news that shapes our world, only on News Talk on Samar News.
Today, we're looking at something pretty complex. What happens when tourism booms and how that impacts local communities, their culture. It's a tricky intersection.
It really is. And we've got a very specific, very current case study to ground this.
Exactly. We're heading to Siargao in the Philippines. You probably know it. A famous surfing spot, incredibly popular, beautiful island.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that popularity, that growth, it's bringing some tensions to the surface, things bubbling underneath.
Yeah, and that's what we're digging into. We've got insights from a couple of key sources for you today. Bits from Siargao, Bridging Cultures and Tourism Challenges, and another piece called Tourism-Induced Immigration, Benefits and Challenges.
Good stuff to unpack there.
Right. So our mission really is to see how this rapid tourism growth can create these maybe unexpected challenges for the people who live there year-round.
And to get a clearer view on this idea of tourism-induced immigration, what it actually looks like on the ground, the good and the bad.
We want to pull out the key nuggets for you, give you that shortcut to understanding this, because it's a pattern you see globally. Okay, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So, the heart of the matter in Siargao right now seems to revolve around local concerns, specifically about the growing number of Israeli visitors.
Yeah, that seems to be the focal point of the recent discussion, at least.
And what really brought this into the open was a Facebook post, went viral back on July 4th. It was from Maria Lalaine Tokong.
Right, she's a local singer, a community organizer there. Her voice carries weight.
It certainly seems so. She wrote about locals losing their sense of security. That's a strong phrase.
It is. And she also said something like, it feels like almost half the people living there aren't locals anymore.
Yeah, just feeling outnumbered in your own home, essentially. She talked about seeing lots of young Israeli travelers, many apparently just out of military service.
Right, coming to rest, maybe heal. That was mentioned.
But she also pointed to specific behaviors, things she said don't align with the soul of this island.
Like what specifically?
She mentioned a sense of dominance, loud parties, reckless driving, things that clash with the local vibe.
Okay, standard tourist complaints sometimes, but maybe amplified here.
Perhaps. But this quote from her really stood out to me. Siargao used to feel like a place where we knew every face, but lately there is a subtle tension, a feeling that we are no longer in control.
Wow.
And then she ends it with, we are feeling less at home in our home.
That phrase really captures it, doesn't it? That profound sense of unease, of displacement. It goes way beyond just economics.
Definitely. She also mentioned plans for an Israeli cultural center and a Shabbat house. Now, for anyone unfamiliar, a Shabbat house is usually a Jewish community center, often supporting travelers and residents.
Right. And Tokong was apparently very careful to clarify something important about her concerns.
What was that?
She stressed this wasn't about hate or, racism or religion. Her words were that it's based on consistent cultural insensitivity and, importantly, lived experience.
Lived experience, meaning this is what people are actually seeing and feeling day to day.
Exactly. It's not abstract. And interestingly, these kinds of complaints weren't entirely new when she posted.
Oh.
Yeah, apparently a local NGO, Project Paradise, had already compiled similar complaints from residents and business owners back in April.
So this had been simmering for months before it blew up publicly.
Seems that way. Which kind of raises a question, doesn't it, about how these things build up before they reach a boiling point.
Yeah, that's a really crucial point. Okay, so this goes public. It's clearly a big deal locally. What was the official reaction? What did the Department of Tourism, the DOT, say?
Well, Tourism Secretary Christina Frasca weighed in. She assured people that the DOT is still optimistic about Siargao's tourism future.
Standard optimism, perhaps?
Maybe. But she also confirmed they had raised these specific concerns with the Israeli embassy in Manila.
Okay, so they acknowledged it directly with the embassy.
Yes, and they apparently stressed the need for, quote, respect for our local customs, traditions, and culture.
And how is that received?
According to Frasco, the ambassador took it well, said the embassy is monitoring the situation and liaising with their nationals in Siargao.
Monitoring and liaising. We'll see what that translates to on the ground, I suppose.
Time will tell. But Frasco also shared her broader view on tourism in situations like this.
What's her philosophy?
She talked about tourism being about bridging cultures, fostering understanding between people from different backgrounds. The idea that we're all human trying to enjoy each other's company.
That's a nice ideal, bridging cultures.
It is. But it frames these challenges as maybe opportunities for understanding. It also implies that bridging needs effort from everyone involved, not just one side.
That makes sense. Did she mention local government?
Yes, she supported local governments getting involved, engaging with communities to handle these issues, and hoped for continued peace between locals and tourists, sort of a call for proactive local management.
Okay. So the Siargao situation, while very specific, feels like it plugs into something bigger, right?
Absolutely. Our sources frame it as a really clear example of this phenomenon they call tourism-induced immigration.
Tourism-induced immigration, and they paint it as a real double-edged sword.
Definitely. Let's look at the potential upsides first because they are significant.
Okay, the benefits. What do the sources highlight?
Well, first off, economic growth. That's the big one. Immigrants, whether they're tourists staying longer or people moving more permanently, often start businesses.
Right, catering to tourists or even locals.
Exactly. And they fill jobs, especially in hospitality, construction, services jobs that might be seasonal or hard to fill in remote places like islands.
Makes sense. What else?
Cultural exchange. New people bring new traditions, food, art. It can make a place more diverse, more interesting. It can actually attract more tourism in a positive way. Fosters global connections.
Okay, economic boost, cultural enrichment. Any other big ones?
Infrastructure. More people means more demand for better roads, utilities, internet access. Sometimes this pressure leads to improvements that benefit everyone.
So the growth itself can drive needed upgrades.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes immigrants themselves invest in property or tourism facilities, adding to the local economy directly. These are the drivers, the reasons places often want more tourism initially.
Okay, that's the sunny side. But the sources warn about the other edge of the sword. The challenges.
And this is where it connects straight back to Siargao. The most obvious one is social tension.
Right, like what Tukong described.
Precisely. It's not just isolated incidents. If you have rapid immigration, especially without real efforts to integrate people or manage cultural differences, you can get resentment.
A feeling of us versus them.
Yeah, or locals feeling pushed out, their culture getting diluted or disrespected. That cultural insensitivity, the parties, the feeling of losing control, that's the social tension playing out.
Okay, what else?
Environmental pressure. This is huge for places like islands. More people simply means more demand on resources, water, waste disposal, energy.
And more strain on the natural environment itself.
Exactly. Especially in ecologically sensitive areas. It's ironic, isn't it? The very beauty that draws people can be damaged by the sheer number of people.
Yeah, a difficult cycle. And the last big challenge.
Housing and the cost of living. This is critical. When tourism drives immigration, it often pushes up property prices and rents fast.
Making it harder for locals to afford to live in their own hometowns.
Absolutely. And sometimes the focus shifts heavily towards short-term rentals, Airbnbs or luxury developments, rather than affordable, long-term housing for the community.
So what starts as an economic opportunity can end up squeezing local people out.
That's the risk. If it's not managed carefully, the benefits can be overshadowed by these social, environmental, and economic strains.
So bringing this all together, thinking about Siargao, thinking about this global trend, what's the main takeaway for you? It sounds incredibly complex.
It is. I think the core takeaway is just how delicate this balance is. You want the economic benefits of tourism, of course, but how do you get those without sacrificing the cultural heart of a place or depleting its resources?
There's no easy answer there.
No. And it really underlines that idea of bridging cultures.
Yeah.
It can't just be a slogan. It requires real work, real empathy from everyone involved, tourists, immigrants, locals, authorities.
And hearing the local perspective, that lived experience Tokong talked about, seems absolutely vital.
Crucial. It can't just be about top-down plans or economic models. You have to listen to the people whose home it is, which I think raises a really important question for all of us, wherever we live or travel.
What's that?
How do we make sure those local voices aren't just, listened to politely, but are actually powerful forces in shaping the future of their own communities, especially when change is happening so fast?
That's a deep question. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It's clear that navigating tourism's impact is about much more than just counting visitor numbers.
It's about responsibility, respect, and finding sustainable ways to coexist.
Exactly. So here's something for you, our listener, to think about. As global travel continues to rebound and reshape places, how can destinations proactively manage this kind of growth? What could they do differently to ensure they get the prosperity without losing their soul, so to speak?
What steps could foster real understanding and integration, not just side-by-side living in places like Siargao and beyond?
Something to chew on. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
News Talk on Samar News, your go-to podcast for the latest headlines and in-depth discussions. Join us as we unravel the stories that matter most, bringing you insightful commentary and expert analysis. Tune in for thought-provoking conversations that spark dialogue and inspire action. Stay connected with the news that shapes our world, only on News Talk on Samar News.